Hey, everybody. I think we're live. So what I wanted to talk about today was something that I thought was pretty cool that I was paying attention to on the market. And it's something we see in the market almost every night. So it happens usually twice. And let's come and look at Market Cipher here to kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. But this is Market Cipher. I kind of use it for leverage trading because I'm a crypto degenerate who stays up late and trades leverage, which is fun and exciting. And Market Cipher makes it like a cheat code. But let's check out last night. So last night was kind of weird. We didn't have like a really big dump and then another really big dump. So usually we expect like 1, 2, and then we get the green light to launch. But that didn't really happen last night. So like this one, we had a couple really solid drops. We had our dump and then a little settling, and then we had another dump, which indicates that let's get going. And then that's kind of our cue to get forward and launch. But when we looked at last night, it was super weird because there wasn't anything like that. We did get the little green indicator right here to launch, which told us to launch, and then it did. And we got the triangle, which tells us the reversal of the previous trend and that we're going to get this bullish pattern. We get the confirmation of the bullish pattern. And then what was interesting was as we started to kind of get towards the top, we tapered down a little bit here, found some support, and then really launched up to this like 60,100 range. And then what was interesting here was almost at this exact moment, probably about right here, I saw over on the Whale Alert Twitter that if you follow, you can kind of predict when the market's going to collapse. But I saw 6 hours ago, right about the same time as the peak happened here, a whale transferred 1,500 BTC from an unknown wallet to Coinbase. And so when a whale transfers from a wallet into Coinbase, the only reason they're doing this is usually to dump a lot of Bitcoin. And so when we see, if someone's going to dump 1,500 BTC, we can expect a wild ride. And so what happened here was, you can't really see it on this chart, but notice that as soon as that time happened, when they transferred, we kind of dumped all the way down. So then when we look at the 5-minute chart, we can start to see where it happened. So we see that we hit that 60,100 range. We started to get the dumping and it started to bring us down. We started to get the red triangles that tell us the trend's happening. And then we get the X's, which tell us market manipulation is at work. And so what that really means is whales are dumping. So that 1,500 BTC they transferred over, they decided to start dumping. And it's really methodical in the way it works. So they'll let it dump, then they'll dump it, then they'll let it go, let it kind of taper, then they'll dump it, let it go, kind of taper, and they'll keep doing it. And typically what happens is in the middle of the night, we get 2 of these dumps. So we'll usually get a green light down here. The green light tells us it's about to launch, and then they'll dump, and then they'll wait. We'll get another green light, and then they'll dump, and then we'll get this green light that tells us that it's okay, and the coin is gonna actually launch again. So I think it's interesting that you can almost predict this. So we have the same thing here. We have the dump, we have the dump, we have the dump. Then we actually are able to launch, and we moved into what happened today. And so you can see the same thing that happened with Ether. Someone transferred over 16,000 Ether and from a Binance to a wallet. And so what that means is they're pulling it off. But up here somewhere, someone transferred a bunch of Ether into Coinbase or Binance or something. And that's the reason why Ether crashed today. So 7,000 Ether from a wallet to Binance. And so if you go and look at the Ether chart, you see something pretty similar. So usually this happens in the middle of the night. And this is why we get such massive and sudden drops. It's because whales are dumping and then they're rebuying at the bottom to do this sort of collective strategy to get more at less. And they let it go, and you'll notice that they'll keep dumping until they blow through one support line, which is yellow, and then they'll dump again until they get through the second support line, and then they'll let it go and let it launch again, and then they'll do the same thing tomorrow night. And that's why Bitcoin will go up and hit like 63,000 today or tomorrow or whenever, and then it'll dump back down into like 58. Then it'll go back up, then it'll dump. It wouldn't be as aggressive and crazy if the whales weren't on here dumping. And so what you can see from this as well as they're in this, we have, let's find that Bitcoin dump. It was a pretty solid dump. And I did notice they transferred 750 back. So they only dumped about half of what they had. But then you'll also notice that all of a sudden, a lot of Tether gets transferred over into exchanges. And so as we get closer, you'll see that let's find a couple. So a lot of Tether transferred to Binance, more Tether transferred to Binance, more Tether transferred from FTX to Binance, Tether to Binance. So you can see the collective action. Let's dump, transfer all the Tether over, and then let's pump. So whales are kind of controlling the aspect and the outflow of the market. I thought it was neat and interesting. So when you guys see the market dump and the market start to collapse, it's not that the market is people are selling off in waves. It's that whales are tactically selling off in basically tactical momentum. So it goes, drop, go, drop, go, drop, till they let it go and it launches. And so when we look at like market cipher, what we want to look for is typically I'll look for like the 15-minute indicator. And when that kind of lights up with this dot, I'll go over and I'll check the 5-minute to see if there's any manipulation at work. So if I get the dot, but then I see there's manipulation at play, I'm not going to do anything until that goes away. We get another dot, and then I know that there's no manipulation. So then what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll check the 30, and then the 30 is a pretty good confirmation that it's going to launch. So we typically look for these little like green dots here on the side, or we look for confirmation from the bright green dot right here that you might be able to see. So I just thought that was interesting. The market doesn't necessarily collapse, and it's wild because people dump, people manipulate the market. The other thing that was interesting was when we hit that really big peak a while back, when we were like killing it and on that massive tear, what happened here was we ended up with the CME gap, and the CME gap was filled, of course. And so when you look at the CME gap, it was right here, and I have their chart. Let me pull it up real quick. But typically when you do get a CME gap, the gap will fill. But the problem was there was a rumor that came out that said someone transferred $1 billion worth of Bitcoin to Gemini. And so what that did was, as soon as we filled that gap, that rumor came out and whales started dumping. And that's what caused us to collapse even further down in the market. So it wasn't a natural collapse. It was panic in the market because people thought a whale was about to dump $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, which was a false rumor. It was an internal transfer in Gemini. But as you can see, the market works on speculation, and the market works based on rumors and hearsay. And so because of that, we filled the gap beautifully, but then the rumor came out and we just completely dumped and tanked. And so the market works based on the euphoria or whatever the whales are feeling and how they dump. And that's kind of why crypto is a little more wild. It's just not organized in a way to where it's regulated enough, and it's super liquid. So you can sell your Bitcoin and have cash right away. But a couple ways to be able to predict this and to be able to see when the market's going to dump are, obviously, if you have market cipher, and if you guys want market cipher, just drop MC down below and I'll give you a link to grab it. But you can usually tell if it hits a big resistance line here, it's going to pop down. If it breaks through resistance, usually at some point it's going to get stuck and start tapering off, and then whales will dump, which will bring it all the way back down to not one, but to the second level of support that it's kind of trying to push to. So Twitter account to follow to kind of check this stuff out. Go to whale alert and just turn on notifications. So that way, like today, I got the notification that someone was about to dump 1,500 Bitcoin. And so what did that tell me? That told me get out of my trade, which I was stupid and didn't do. So now I got in the trade way down here. So I'm in it. So I was up, now I'm down, and now I'm going to write it back up. But when you get that tweet, it's like, get out of the trade, get anything you have going on in the market out. So that way you don't get stuck. Or if you see it, it's a good opportunity to like sell some stuff off and rebuy at the bottom, because so many things follow Bitcoin and ETH. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I thought that would be pretty cool to go over and kind of show you guys. And I know I saw BitBoy and some people talking about like a bearish divergence. I don't think that's happening, because we had a solid drive, we filled the gap, and then market rumors crushed us, which created this divergence. And so whales were dumping because of the rumors. Whales weren't dumping because they needed to dump. They dumped because they panicked. And that's why we dumped right back to where we were down here. But we're already in a great pathway to drive back up, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of insanity going on anymore. So it's another good reason to why you want to keep your ear to the market and pay attention to like who's dumping, what's the rumors, could this rumor really like screw us over? Will this rumor cause whales to dump? Because like if you saw the Gemini rumor and you saw someone transferring $1 billion, obviously you want to get out of your trades because it's about to collapse and dump, because these people are going to panic. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll hang on for a little bit and see if I can help you out. But the market's looking pretty good. I don't think anything's going wrong or going bad when we look at coin market cap. It looks like the market's doing pretty well. A lot of things kind of focus on Bitcoin. We were down quite a bit, but we're starting to fill that gap. As you can see on the chart, we figured out some support down here, like 56,994. It was just above it. But now we're kind of starting to establish a trend back up. When I look at this, I go to the 15 and I say, okay, how are we looking? All right, well, we're starting to move up. We got a little green here, which tells me that it is going to start trending up. X tells me that we might have a reversal of trend, but on the 15, it's not super reliable. So this is usually an early indicator. Once the big green, oh, and there's a blood diamond. So what that means is it's about to dump for a couple of minutes. Maybe for the 15-minute candle, but then we check the 30 and we see, okay, is a blood diamond going to stay there? Maybe, maybe not. But when I start seeing greens and big greens on the 30, that's my cue that we can probably go in for a trade or something like that. So hopefully this was helpful. I'm going to jump off now. And if you guys have questions, just post them in the comments. I will see you all later.